Hey, stick around because we got Chuck Wright, former bass player for Quiet Riot and Alice Cooper, and he's also worked with a ton of other stellar musicians, including guys from Guns N' Roses, which he's going to tell us all about. And he's got his new solo record out right now called Sheltering Sky with lots of special guests, including Scotty Hill of Skid Row and Jeff Scott Soto. And this is a really fun interview. You're going to love it. Stay right there. Okay, well, welcome,
Hello.
Chuck Wright. Chuck Wright to the Chuck Shoe Podcast. Awesome. Two Chucks. I love it.
Yeah, dueling Chucks.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. So your facial hair, that's a newer thing that you grew it out for a Quiet Riot video and you just kept it, but you never had that before?
How do you know that? No, anyway, you've got some inside info. Actually, no, my whole life, I've never had hair on my face.
Yeah.
It never really filled in enough. I mean, I can't grow it up. Anyway, so in doing a video with Quiet Riot, I needed to grow scruff out to be this Western character. I actually get killed in the thing. I was told I die gracefully and great. But anyway, I grew it out and people were commenting, wow, you look great. It makes you look younger. It brings your jawline in and all that. So I went, really? I don't know. I still haven't really gotten used to it. I don't know. It's been quite a while that I've had it, but it's, I have to diet and it's, I'm great, but you know how it is. But that's how that came about was, the video shoot.
No, that's cool. I like it. Makes you look like a music, it's really like a musician kind of, especially when you put like the fedora on with it. I was that's kind of a cool look.
As you can see in the background, I have a lot of hats all over the place.
Yeah.
I've been, the haberdashery. I've been, when I was a kid, I was in military school for almost 9 years. So I guess that's I always wore hats. And I actually just posted a picture of me in my very first band. It was like the first band picture of me and I'm wearing a hat. I didn't even think I go, wait a minute, I'm wearing a hat and that too. So I guess it's kind of been a thing for me off and on. Obviously during the 80s, it was all about the big hair. So I wasn't doing the hat thing. So
right. Wait, so tell me about this military school for night. Did you in trouble or something? You get
no, you know what? My mom, I never knew my dad. My mom thought it would be, I guess she saw me playing with Barbies with my sister or something. I don't know, but she.
Oh, no.
So she put me in the school and I really, in that environment, I did really well. I was second in command of the battalion. And I was going to go to school, Air Force Academy school to get me to go to the main Air Force Academy because I wanted to fly jets. And my whole life changed because of rock and roll. That was my course. I took some guitar lessons when I was a little kid and I could kind of play guitar. And when I was, I think, almost 15, the neighborhood kids, they were 16, 17 bigger kids, and I was big for my age. They said, hey, man, you play guitar, right? And I said, well, a little. They go, do you think you could play bass? And I go, wait a minute, isn't that only 4 strings bass? And I go, let me ask my mom. So she got me a bass, and the first band I really got into was Jack Bruce and Cream, and it's all about improvisation. So I kind of was self-taught that way, and I did my first gig, which was a UCLA fraternity party. I made $75. I drank beer, and the girls thought I was cute. So I went to my mom and I go, this is what I want to do. This is my life's calling. I want to do music. And she was like, she tried to talk me out of it, of course. She goes, but you've invested 8 years of your life and you're doing so good. And, it was high caliber educational kind of school. And I was pretty organized. So I was able to excel in that environment. So anyway, it changed and I became a rock and roll guy. And Jack Bruce, who just had a birthday a couple of days ago, passed away, obviously, I think 2014. I can't remember the date. But anyway, I got a bass, which is a Gibson EB3 bass because of him. That was the bass I got. Now, cut 2 years later, and this is kind of a cool trivia story. Years later, I'm on tour with Vanilla Fudge with Carmine, and the opening act's bass player inherited millions of dollars, and he started a music collection. And one of the items he had was the bass that Jack Bruce recorded Sunshine of Your Love with, which was the very first song I ever recorded. So I went over to his house. There was the bass. And I sat down and played the bass that was the very first song I ever learned from.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story, but that happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's just crazy. Like it must have been like do you feel like the magic from that, or is it just like
I was in awe of the whole situation. I mean, he had Jimmy Page's Vox amps, and he had Timmy Bogart's bass up there. I mean, he inherited $250 million, you know, so he had like all this incredible, and he was a really great musician too. Anyway,
that is so cool. I love those
that's
kind of stories. That's
a
what I
full
want to do if
circle.
I win the lotto, is just buy up cool. You know what I want to do is I want to put bands back together. They're like, oh, we can't, it's too expensive to
You know
tour. I
what?
would say, I'm going to buy you a tour.
What I would do is I would start a production company and label, and start getting bands and treating them right and having them do their own thing instead of having to be put into a shelf in a box. Because I see so many of these guys just doing the same thing over and over and over. They're all just doing the same things. Like, grow, do a little bit, you know, just kind of encourage and develop people, develop artists, which stopped years ago. I like, you know, if you think about it, if a band like U2 or Bruce Springsteen came out, they wouldn't have lasted because their first albums didn't do anything. The record companies believed in them and stayed with them and developed them as artists, so they were able to grow into this massive worldwide phenomenon, you know.
Well, do you think you need the record companies now, though? Because I feel like everyone's just making their own music in their basement or whatever, and they just keep making music. They don't really need a record company.
But in that, there's a problem, because what do you get, 60,000 songs released today? Something like that on Spotify? I know, I heard it was 30. Last night I was hanging with Millie from Steelheart, and he goes, no, man, it's like 80,000 now. And I go, no way. And I said, that's crazy. I go, how do you rise above that? You know, so you kind of I think you still need a machine to do it right. You know, the reason I'm with you now is the publicity department at Cleopatra is putting me out to do like interviews all over the place about my new album. And I don't know if I would have been able to generate that myself, you know, by reaching out. I don't know. I think it's good to have that if you can.
Yeah, I do love hearing the stories about people, at least when they start, that they're doing it on their own and stuff. And, you know, it's like this grassroots thing. Like back in the 80s, I think the flyering was the big thing, that everyone, you know, putting up flyers and stuff. And
you don't have to tell me. I mean, even before the 80s, late 70s, I was the guy with the staple gun hitting when we had telephone poles, I was hitting all the telephone poles, you know, going up Laurel Canyon into Sunset Strip and standing out there going, hey, you got to check out my band. It's a cool band. I remember, this is a great one. I remember being at the Cat Club, right? And Axl Rose, before they were signed, is in the men's room to meet every guy that comes in there to push his band.
What?
Check out my band. It's really great.
That is hilarious. I cannot even picture that, because
it's so
he's
weird.
such a cool customer now. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, I know, but why not stand outside the door? Why inside? That's what I was wondering. He's standing by the sink when you come in.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of a small bathroom. I remember, and that always.
Well, because then it's like you can't. Once you're in, it's like you're kind of trapped, right? He's got you trapped.
I maybe that's the case, but
or it's quieter. I don't know.
I just always remember that, because then they got signed and they took off and blew they're huge, you know, one of the biggest bands in the world.
He told you, he said, hey, you should listen to my band. It's called Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, everybody that came in, he said, you got to hear my band. It's called Guns N' Roses. I'll never forget that. And I ended up working with many of the members in my past of Guns N' Roses, both Matt Sorum. I've done film projects with him, and I did a solo album, and I toured with Steven Adler. I did a movie soundtrack with Slash, was involved in that and played live with him. And Teddy Zigzag, I did his solo record. And he's a really good, still a very close friend. So is Gilby Clark. I've played with him, you know, so.
But not Axl. That was your Axl story.
Huh?
That was your Axl story, though? Was just meeting him in the back. You haven't seen him.
I've never seen him since, man. It's like, that's a guy I've never had any contact with, you know, at all. Dizzy Reed's a good friend, and I've worked with him a lot. I toured with Dizzy on the Dizzy and Jizzy tour, because it was Jizzy, Pearl, Dizzy, Reed, and it was just one backup band, which was me and Alex and I think it was Chili, who's in Puddle of Mud, on drums, and we toured as the Dizzy and Jizzy tour.
That's a great. I didn't know about that.
It was great, because the Love Hate material is killer.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I've had Jizzy on a couple times.
In fact, we were doing Blackout in the Quiet Riot show, but I love that. Really, it was great, and obviously doing the Guns N' Roses material and Dizzy would do like some Elton John and some other cover stuff besides just GNR, which he's always a blast. He's great, really great at what he does. Fun band. It was a fun tour. It was a great tour.
Is he the best guitarist you've ever played with? And I mean, did you notice it when you're playing with him? Are you just in awe, or is it just like any other gig?
Well, the thing I remember about that, and I'll talk about what I think of him as a player, but the thing I remember the most about the one gig we did, we were in Sundance Film Festival, and the film that we had worked on, they hired us to come and play up there, and the place was packed, and people were paying like ridiculous amounts of money to come see, because they knew Slash was playing, and they knew that, and actually Duff was there too. I played bass, but Duff came out for a song, Teddy was there, and Matt Sorum was on drums, and the thing I remember is Slash goes tiki 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 tiki, walks up to the mic and goes, "Not gonna happen."
Wow.
Goes, what? The crowd went crazy when he played the riff, right? And then he goes, "Not gonna happen." And then they go, "Whoa!" You know, we just did songs for the movie, and you know, and then a crazy thing that happened is we all switched instruments on the last song, and I switched to drums because I love playing drums. But we're at 5,000 feet. I was like dry heaving at the end of that. I was like trying to do Pushing Too Hard, and Matt was singing lead, and he's going, "Come on, dude." You know, it was a fun, I'll never forget that whole experience. But that's basically my only time, which is kind of very limited, working with Slash himself.
Yeah. Well, you've worked with so many freaking amazing musicians, like, but
Alice Cooper was a great one to work with. I got to tour with, I did 75 cities, 17 countries, started in Moscow and ended in Lisbon, Portugal with him, which, I mean, what a brilliant guy. Hung out with him every day, pretty much, shopping. And it was
okay, because I've had so many people from Alice Cooper's bands that have played with him, and everyone says the same thing, like, "Oh, he's the nicest guy, great guy." Does that guy ever like have a bad day and yell at somebody, or like is he just perfect?
The only thing I can say is we sat in the back of the bus once and counted members, and we got up to 60. But anyway, that he's had throughout the course of the Alice Cooper band thing.
Yeah.
You got keyboards, you got guitar players, two guitar, and in and out. That band had Eric Singer, who's in Kiss, Eric Dover, you might know from.
Yeah, I had him on the show.
Yeah, he was Slash's band and Jellyfish, I think it is.
Yep.
You know, Pete Friesen, who had been with Alice before, and Teddy Zigzag was on the keyboards back then. But I remember we talked about it. There's 60 different guys, but he does become somebody else. I've seen the transformation. When he becomes Alice Cooper, the Alice Cooper on stage, it's like this thing comes over him and he turns into this, you know, it's so bizarre to see because you know him as this, "Hey man, let's go have coffee," you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, "Get out of my way." It's like, you know, he's like, we did this one show, it was at Halloween, and the steps up to the drum riser had these human heads and skulls hanging on them. Well, he put Kiss masks over them. It's cool. And he took his, I'll never forget, one song he does on a crutch. He has a crutch he brings out. He took the crutch and just destroyed Paul Stanley's head over and over and over. I don't know why. I don't know what that was about, but he was intense. I was like, that was another side of Alice I've never seen. I'm telling you.
But that's like he's playing a character.
Yeah, he was playing a character. He just went crazy. You know?
That's got to be how he gets out his aggression then, is playing this character.
Maybe. I do have one other thing about that. And I didn't really go about, it doesn't matter about Slash. Anyway.
Slash. No, let's talk about Slash. I love Slash. I love Guns N' Roses.
I mean, I'll go back to that. But the funny story about the Alice tour is, you know, a lot of times people go, "What, do you have any Spinal Tap moments?" You know, and most people are aware of the Spinal Tap movie. Mm-hmm. And there were two with Alice Cooper I'll never forget. They do this whole thing where he's in a straitjacket. They take him to the guillotine. Eric Singer's doing the drum roll. They have the executioner with the hood on, holding the rope, and he yells, "Die!" And they drop the guillotine, and it stopped halfway, and his head fell off.
Oh, whoops!
Whoops! And they rushed him away. And then another time, there's this tube during the show. He like Feed My Frankenstein. He takes like the head that was cut off, and he puts it on the body that he had been building in this tube. And then the drum solo, and then the tube fills up with smoke, and then the door comes open, and he comes out dressed like in the white suit that the bodies were in, and and then we do No More Mr. Nice Guy, right? Well, he couldn't get out. It was filled with smoke and he's stuck in there. Let me out, which happened in Spinal Tap.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
So he had to go out around the back and come around the side. So the whole gag of him turning into this live thing didn't happen. Anyway.
So then does that piss him off? Does he get you motherfuckers, what the hell, who did this? Or is he just like laugh it off?
No, he laughed it off. I mean, he's
such a class act.
He's, you know what? He's super consistent. He was a great man. Now, back to your question about what did I think of Slash as a player? Under the circumstances of that situation, there wasn't much to do. You know, there wasn't a lot of us jamming or doing things, but I did go see him play with his band at the Whisky, and I sat there in awe watching how good he was and how he could he's like, I know he plays kind of sideways, and how he did this. He did this solo that must have lasted for 15 minutes that was interesting the whole time. And honestly, I got to be honest with you, I never really held him to the same level that I hold somebody like Jeff Beck or Alan Holsworth or David Gilmour, or those kind of guys that I totally they're my guys, right? Until I saw that show. I hadn't really watched Guns N' Roses or listened to it. I have a lot more respect for Guns N' Roses music when I had to learn it. When I learned how intricate some of the parts were and the chord changes and the key changes and all the different things, when I had to go tour with Adler and with Dizzy, when I toured with him to learn that stuff, I gained a new high respect for that band.
Is that how you would judge a good guitarist, based on how complicated and intricate the music is, or is it more just about the feel?
It's about feel. I mean, I don't think for me personally, I don't think there's a better guitar solo than the one at Comfortably Numb. And you know, Pink Floyd's
Pink Floyd, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, make the notes count. You know, I try to say that. It's like I forgot who, I think I saw Dream Theater or some band where the guy's just shredding the whole time. And I wanted to hold up a sign that says, no one cares, man. Make the notes count. Put some heart and soul into those notes, you know.
I kind of like both. I kind of like the shredding though.
No, but you got to.
But I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
you got to do it at a time. Like on the first track of my album, Alan Hines came on board. He sells out whenever he plays here. He's a jazz fusion guy.
Yeah,
these beautiful melodies, but then he'll just blow into something that's just like, whoa, where'd that come from? But it's done. You know, I don't like guys that just come out and just start riffing. You know, they don't build up to it. It's like,
it can get repetitive. Yeah, like some of those guys
went off right away. You don't build up to anything.
Right. When every song is just shredding, it's like it starts to get kind of like monotonous.
Yeah, that's what I think. Totally. Zach, I felt like that when I saw his last thing. It was just like the same thing over. I was going, dude.
Who?
Oh, Zach Wild.
Oh, Zach Wild. Okay, I was like, that's what I thought, but I wasn't. Okay, yeah.
I saw it. I was kind of going, man. It's like the same. It's like whatever.
He's so good though. Like he wows me when he plays with Ozzy.
Excellent, and what a great fit for him and Ozzy back then, right?
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, so let's talk about your new. So you said the weight of silence. That's the first song, right?
Yeah. Now, what happened with and why I'm even having a solo record, which was never a plan. I never said, "Oh, I'm going to make a solo album." What happened was the pandemic hit, and I'm at home, and I wanted to take a bad situation, and I was watching the world with all these major cities like Vegas and that are bustling, in New York, and there's like nobody there. It was like an apocalyptic sci-fi experience, you know. So
spooky,
I took that feeling and I recorded Weight of Silence, playing everything myself. I edited together a video. I got drone footage of showing the empty streets all over the world. And I had one central figure that's in a hazmat suit. So like he's the last man left on Earth. And I had a train that is just going through from the beginning of the video to the end that's got nobody in it. It's just an empty train going through. And I put that out myself. And then I get a phone call from Troy Lucetta from Tesla, the drummer in Tesla. And he said, Chuck, he goes, I love this song. Can I play drums? I'd love to play drums on it. And I go, I've never even thought about that. I go, yeah, I'll send you. He has a studio. I'll send you the tracks. Drums came in at the same time. Alan, who I was just talking about, said, hey, I could put some guitar soloing on it. And I edited that together. And then I heard Derek Sherinian, keyboard player he was in Dream Theater, but he's got a bunch of great solo albums out. He really liked it. So I said, hey, can you put some Mellotron and some synth on this? What do you think? And he said, yeah, it's great. I'll do it. So then I released that one. And oddly enough, just a couple of days ago, I found out that I won best instrumental and best video on the the Rock Music Alliance Awards, and I had no idea it was even nominated. And Joe Satriani and John Five were in the same category.
Damn.
I know, and my album's not even out yet, but because that came out, that song is on my album, but I put it out myself. But it's going to be on this album that I'm releasing tomorrow.
Oh, is it coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, on the 20th. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll try to get this episode out tonight then. Yeah, because I heard the whole thing, and that's interesting. It makes sense that it was recorded in the pandemic because there's a lot of like dark, somber tones to it that are very spooky, and I feel like they could really lend themselves to some like cool movies or TV shows or something like that would be perfect.
Yeah, I heard that from a lot of people. Now, again, I never intended doing a solo record, so I was just writing music that I liked. It's something I would want to hear. So that's why you're getting jazz fusion, you're getting funk, you're getting even a Celtic song on there. I redid Darkness, Darkness that came out in '69. There's 2 covers and the Bjork cover. That's kind of why the record has such a diverse feel to it. Once I had 5 songs kind of done, and I did the video for Army of Me with a 3D, a guy that does 3D graphic design named Drew Lanius. Then I said, you know what, I think I got something here. And I started taking it around, and Brian Pereira, who I'd known a long time at Cleopatra, thought it was great, so he signed it. So it gave it some legitimacy instead of me just throwing up some YouTubes or whatever. And then I finished it off, and I have 41 great friends and musicians on the record total. I just did a head count. I thought it was 30 something, but then I went, wait a minute, oh yeah, he's doing percussion. Oh, so it's 41 people total.
Yeah, it's like a musician's kind of album. Like this isn't for people who are just casual music listeners. I don't think they're going to enjoy. I don't think they're going to get it. It's very sophisticated and more complex, which good for you. Cause I think my audience are music fans. So they're going to be, I think they're gonna be able to appreciate it.
Yeah. If you like bands like Pink Floyd, maybe you would dig a lot of what I'm doing on here. And one of my songs, which is my new single called Throwin' Stones.
Yeah. I love that one.
I don't know if you saw the video, but it was compared to, imagine somebody did a review. They said, it's kind of like if Primus and Stevie Wonder got together. And I went, wow, that's interesting. Because if you watch what I'm doing, playing, and the funkness of it, and Joe Retta, vocal on it's incredibly, like Stevie Wonder, just the R&B style. He actually wrote the lyric and the vocals for the song, for the music, which was an anti-war message, which he wrote before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So when I was making the video for the song, and he couldn't be in here, so you'll see him in a TV screen, I felt I should incorporate what was going on in the world right now with the Ukraine invasion. So there's some of those elements in that video. But it's basically the message in that song that he wrote is, as humans, we started throwing rocks at each other, throwing stones, and now we're launching missiles at each other. So how much longer until we learn that this is not the way? Love is the answer. That's basically the message in that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point because even if we're not throwing missiles, I mean, the stones are it's not doing good things for the world either. There's a lot of the stone throwing on Twitter and just everywhere in the world. Right? It's kind of
that's a good analogy. I mean, there's so much hate speak and hate stuff. People have a platform that maybe they have some inner angers about whatever, chip on their shoulder, and they look at, I can be anonymous and just shred. I'm not going to say their name, but there's a certain webzine that no matter what you put up there, there's going to be a long line of guys that are just sitting waiting so they can try to out trash, whoever it is, each other. I'm going, it's always the same guys. They're guys that are never successful musicians usually, are trashing guys that have actually done stuff. It's always just, you can look them up now, and it's like,
I know, it's funny. It's like when I get a negative comment on YouTube, and I always click on their YouTube and they have like 2 subscribers. I'm like, well, you're trashing me. I've got more subscribers than you. Like, if somebody had like 10,000 subscribers and they gave me some critical feedback, hey, I'd love to hear it. But yeah,
well, I guess the point is, and which I think your analogy about throwing stones being hate speak or whatever online, it's just everybody has a platform now. It's like whoever it is, they can get online and just start going off. That's the problem with Twitter
Right. Well, and then not only that, but with the algorithm, the craziest, wildest ideas from all over every kind of direction, they go to the top of the algorithm.
Right.
Because they're going to get the most interaction. People are, what do you think that? You're crazy. If I just say like, hey, like, I think I tweeted something yesterday. I said, if people could be kinder to each other, is that an idea? Like, instead of trying to convince everybody like of your ideas, what if people just tried to listen and be kind? Well, nobody cared about that. That got like 3 likes.
Not a lot of empathies. I know nobody cares. And I've noticed, like, I've done a couple of these, and they'll cherry pick a sentence out of the entire hour that you're speaking. And then that'll be their headline. So-and-so says that, the virus is fake. And that wasn't what the whole content of it was. That was just one line in it about them talking about. I heard this about Carmine. I guess somebody took just one line out of his podcast and they turned it into a whole, and he's getting all this hate mail and all. It's like, so you got.
I know people want to take the shortcuts and they don't. If they actually, because that happens to me a lot of times too, where I'll have a podcast and then they'll take a sound bite, but I'm like, listen to the full interview and then decide what before you make a judgment. Well, that's the thing. There's that's another thing. People can be judges now everywhere. Everybody's judging somebody else instead of trying to support, and something I try to do personally. I run an event called Ultimate Jam Night, which I started in 2015. Yeah. We've been at the legendary Whisky A Go-Go now for many years. And what I try to do is just put a bunch of musicians together. And we usually have a theme every week, and it's between, 45 maybe and we've had as many as 100 professional musicians. And the show and coordinating all that it's like herding cats, but seeing the performances and people getting to play together that maybe never had played together and wanted to play together, or taking somebody that's a really new player who's great and putting them with seasoned pros is always a very rewarding experience to see that happen, and when you can make that happen. Yeah, you've had some. You tell me, what are your favorite guests that have come to that? Because 7 years of that, you must have had some stellar musicians. One stands out for me, I guess, if I have to pick one, is Robin Zander was there from Cheap Trick. Yeah, from Cheap Trick, and at the time we started Ultimate Jam Night was basically at a venue that was partially, it had a nice stage and all that, but it's partially a bowling alley, right? And he's backstage, and I'm talking with him. We're friends because I toured with Cheap Trick in the 80s. And he gets a phone call and he goes, "What? Really? No way." And he finishes the call and he goes, I can't believe this. He goes, "We were just nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." And he goes, "What's even weirder about that is we got signed to play in a bowling alley, and I'm in a freaking bowling alley." What? Yeah. And so he came out and what's his name was there? From Headbangers Ball. Ricky Rackman? Oh, Ricky Rackman was there. And he goes, "Hey, let me tell the story. Let me tell the story." And I go, "Sure, man." So Ricky goes out there and starts talking and telling the whole story that happened backstage. And then Robin came out and did Dream Police with us, which was great. There's actually a video up there. But we've had Dee Snider. We've had the Motorhead guys. We've had, Doug Pinnick is a regular that comes down from King's X, Oh, I love. Did you ever talk to him? I had him on my podcast. It was like an hour and a half, and I didn't want it to end. Yeah, he's a sweetheart, man. He's a great guy, great player, great songwriter, really sweet man. And it's just I've been blessed in that, and through that, making this album, I would be working on a song and I go, who'd be great for this? Let me see if he's into it. And I'd say, "Hey, check it out. I'm working on this song. I think if you did a solo on this would be great." And I would, and they're into it, like Scotty Hill from Skid Row. It's like killer solo for the song. It's just, I got to cherry pick, so to speak, like the right guy and they were, luckily for me, everybody that I said, "Hey, do you want to check this out and do it?" They said, "Yeah, this is great. I'm on." Oh, really? Everyone said yes? Yeah. I never had anybody go, "No." Everybody's like, "Oh, this is great. Yeah, I'd love to do it." Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. So wait, tell me back to so it's kind of like a combo thing here, because the song Throwing Stones, it's kind of reflective of the war right now, but didn't you do something with the Jam Night where you had Ukrainian refugees and musicians? That all happened at pretty much the same time, because just
a few weeks back, I think it's like 3 weeks maybe now, we did a benefit for the World Central Kitchen for the refugees coming out of Ukraine because of the war. And we raised a lot of money to send them to, help with the food there. And we did have a family that had just left Ukraine that were bombed out. They came out on stage and their little 7-year-old daughter sang a verse and a chorus of "We Are the World," and everybody's crying. It was pretty crazy. And we did have one Ukrainian girl sing a traditional song in the beginning. And we also, I wanted to open up the show with Great Gate of Kiev, the Mussorgsky piece, instrumental thing, and then the band came straight in from that. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Over the years, we've done a few charity events. So we did one for the Pulse nightclub thing that happened when, all those people were shot in the club, and we brought some people out from that and tried to get money for them. Different things. We've done food drives for Los Angeles for the homeless. Once in a while, we'll do charity events.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I always end each episode with a charity. So I'm always trying to it's just like something to, if we could all just pitch in a little bit, I think that.
Yeah, like you were saying about your comment on Twitter, I think the world needs more empathy, man.
Yeah, I kind of just, some of the tweets, even though there's things that people post, and I might even agree with it, but I'm like, what is the point of posting this on Twitter? I don't really understand. Like some things you used to just keep to yourself, you might think something, but you don't.
Yeah, I think people put too much personal information on there. I mean, it's, I don't want to know that you're having stomach trouble today and that you're having, that you're visiting the bathroom every 5 minutes. I don't need to know that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. You're right. It's like too much information. Like sometimes I just go, okay, and then Facebook, you're friends with all these people, and it's like, but it's like too much information. Why do I need to know what the kid that I had biology class with in high school is having for lunch today? Like what?
Well, yeah, and they tell you how the weather was. I have one that always goes, "Oh, we're having a beautiful day today. It's only 75." I go, okay, I know it's there. You lose a lot of time with some of that, but it has facilitated keeping in touch with, like the first guitar player in my first band. I'm in touch with now. He's up in Portland now. We still talked because of Facebook. We found each other,
right?
And that's happened with a lot of people that we found each other again through Facebook. So in that regard, it's good. I wish it was around when my mom was alive, because she lived in Maui, and I would be able to share what I'm doing all the time with her. And so it's a double-edged sword,
right?
It's good and bad. Technology is good and bad. It depends on how it's used.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Yeah, I feel like maybe we need to give people classes or something on how to, because it was when they had it, they just said, "Here you go," and it's like they don't really teach people how to use it. And then, I mean, especially kids, it can be really dangerous for kids. So really, I don't know.
They can get sucked into all kinds of terrible things if they're not. That's why you got to have those parental guidance. And a lot of parents don't even pay attention to what their kids doing.
Yeah, no, it's scary.
I know.
All right. Well, anyways, back to the album. Yeah, there's so many good songs. Yeah, sorry. I know we have there's a reason. We just keep getting sidetracks, but it's fascinating.
Okay. That's conversations are always like that. It's all right.
Yeah. No, but the song "The Other Side," I listened to that a few times. It's really beautiful. And you wrote that song obviously as a tribute to Frankie, the Riot drummer who passed away. Well, and you wrote that didn't you write it immediately after you got the call?
Yeah, actually, that's how that happened. Was I got the call that I knew he was going to. I mean, my last conversation with him, I kind of wish I didn't have that conversation, because it was just terrible seeing him in that condition. But because it was a FaceTime thing, and it was just anyway. So I got the call that he had passed, and I went, wow, because I've known, we started playing together in 1981, 26 years of my life playing with him. And off and on with Quiet Riot. But anyway, so I picked up, right next to me was a 12-string acoustic, and I just started playing with that feeling. And that whole song from top to bottom, even the bridge, every part of it, even the chorus melody and chorus idea, See You on the Other Side, all happened at one sitting, like in an hour and a half or whatever it was. I was just going, oh, this is nice. And, just kind of feeling that whole thing. And I after I finished it, recorded the guitar, and I put some bass on it. I got a hold of August Jung, who had been working with Frankie in a Zepp band, And I said, hey, I'd really like you to finish this with me. And he helped me out, flesh out the verses on it. And I also reached out to Joe Pelletier, who was the keyboard player with the band Frankie was working with, and Mr. Jimmy himself is the band. They're called Mr. Jimmy. I just saw them before Frankie passed. I went to the rehearsal. I was in Tokyo, and they were rehearsing there for some big concerts there. And I just felt I wanted to include them in that. But that song, it was inspired. I mean, it's a weird word to say use inspired, but it started because of the bad news about Frankie, but it really relates to everybody I've lost along the way. And I'm sure when people listen to it, they'll feel the same way, because we hope that we see them on the other side.
Right. Well, that's what's cool about this album is like that song. And then the one that's kind of about war. It's like, it must be cathartic for you to write these, but it could also be cathartic for people to listen to these songs.
So I hope that people get, different emotions out of listening to the record and listening to the lyrics. There's a song called Giving Up the Ghost on the album that's one of my favorite songs, just as a song, the way it's written. And it's basically just about there's a time to let things go. People hold on to things that are holding them back. It's time to let things go. Like a relationship, it's basically about that. It's like, okay, so you broke up and you're not together anymore, but you keep holding on. And because you're holding on emotionally, you can't be open to something new. So that's what that song's about.
How do you know when it's time to let go, though? Because you got to have some sort of period of grieving, I would think.
Oh, you do. No, there's no doubt. But I know people, one person comes to mind, but I'm not going to say who it is, but for 3 years now, she's still holding on to, the hurt and the pain of a breakup, of a situation changing. It's like, that's why there's time to give up the ghost,
No, that's really good. I didn't know that's what that song was about. That's why I like doing these interviews. That's really cool to hear.
That's what that's about.
Yeah, that one, and then the Farewell Horizon. Those are definitely like kind of like that. Like I said, that somber kind of like dark mood.
Well, that one's somber and dark too. But I wrote that. That's the only song on the album I started writing on my bass. It's like I'm playing chords on my bass. I overdubbed another bass to it. Then I played acoustic guitar to it. And then I contacted my friend Toshi Unagi, who you might know if you've ever seen the Jimmy Kimmel Show. He's the house guitar player on that show. And he's one of the most well-rounded musicians that I know. And he's an amazing jazz fusion player. And I said to him, I go, Toshi, I've got this kind of jazz fusion song that I'd like to finish with. Would you be interested in finishing it with me? I go, what I'm looking for is like a Jeff Beck style melody. And then I want you to do some shredding like Alan Holdsworth. And he sent me back something that I thought was just so beautiful. And then on the bridge, I wanted to pay homage to one of my favorite bands when I was a kid, which is King Crimson. So the bridge sounds like straight out of 1970 King Crimson, part of the Crimson King album. I've got baritone sax, I've got mellotron, and all that on it. In fact, when I was in high school, my English class, I did a report on the song 21st Century Schizoid Man. My teacher flipped out so much, she made that class listen to the whole album. Because the lyrics on that album are amazing. Because it was an English class, so it's about poetry and music. Someone would bring in American Pie, and I brought in 21st Century Schizoid Man. So that's where my head was at.
Yeah, because you're right, you obviously wrote most of these songs or co-wrote them, but how do you write?
Well, most of them I started, and then maybe I finished them off with people, yeah.
Okay, so like when you're writing lyrics, does it just come to you like the music, or do you have to sit down, try to rhyme stuff, or?
Well, there definitely is a rhyming scheme to it, and that you've got to think about, well, what's going to sound right. Sometimes the way something sounds is more important than what it's being said. I remember reading a Phil Collins, I think, interview, and he goes, sometimes the way things come off in the melody is more important than the word. And so you kind of have to walk the line between that and the importance of the word so that it's sung good, but still it carries the same message.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes
I don't know what susurrio means. What does that mean?
Right. Yeah, right. Like I was going to say,
what is that?
It sounds like sometimes they just kind of make words up to make it sound.
That song, definitely, I think that's what that is. But anyway, but yeah, there's a line you walk when you're writing lyrics on that. I worked on the album. 3 songs have a vocalist named Whitney Ty.
She's great.
She's phenomenal. I discovered her doing Ultimate Jam Night. And when I decided to finish the song Army of Me, which was actually recorded quite a while ago on a lark. I was in the studio with my late friend Pat Torpy from Mr. Big and Landy Cordola, who worked with me in House of Lords and many other projects. We started jamming on it. I mean, I'm not even playing the correct bass part. We were just doing it by memory. And I found the tracks and I go, this is killer. I got to finish this. I got to, also to honor Pat, it's really great. And I thought of her as the perfect voice for it. And through that, we started working together and we wrote the song Time Waits for No One. I came up with all the music and I said, hey, you want to help me finish this song out? And then I thought she was the perfect voice for Giving Up the Ghost as well. So she ended up being on 3 songs, super talented. She's got her own album that came out last year called Apogee that is killer. And she's working on new music now, which I'm going to be doing some bass for her on.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And then the other song that was really cool, that it's totally different than anything else, is the Cradle of the Sun, because it's kind of like a country blues guitar on it.
Yeah, what it is, that song almost didn't get on the record because it was so different, but it's a lot like a Robert Plant, Alison Krauss song. I don't know if you're familiar with his side thing that he does with Alison.
A little
Krauss.
bit, yeah.
But it's kind of that folky.
Yes.
And he actually does some of the Zeppelin tunes in that folky style. So I have some lap steel on there, which really gives it that kind of sound. And I went for more of a gospel type chorus with a lot of voices. And it's actually a duet. Shelley Bonet has just great tone in her voice. She sang with August Young, the guy I talked about earlier from the Zepp thing. I go, well, it's kind of like a Robert Plant song. I'm going to tap into the guy that does Robert Plant, right? He's a great singer and he has kind of that vibe. So I kind of went for that with that song. But yes, I'm glad you pointed that one out. It almost didn't. I was on the fence.
No, I like it because, like I said,
different,
there's definitely some dark and somber tones, but I mean, there's a variety too. Like I think the Throwin' Stones, I mean, I think if people who know you, that's probably a good one to start out with, because it's just a great rockin' song. And if they're familiar with, hard rock, they're going to love that.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's why I wanted to do that as my second video after I got the deal. Because the first one I did on my own. This one, I really thought about it. What song's really going to hit people, and all the hard rock fans out there are going to still dig it, instead of coming out with Giving Up the Ghost or something like that. I wanted to hit him with something that shows off my playing as a bass player and just as a kick-ass track.
Yeah, no, that was great.
When I got Joe's vocal, I was so blown away. I go, oh my God, this has got to be out there,
Yeah. So if you do these, I heard you say you would need Roger Waters' budget to pull this off as a live show, but I mean, could you scale it down and do just some select?
Well, yeah, this
shows?
is something that's come up a lot the last, starting to do all these interviews, is about, well, what do you want, how do you do it live? Truly, to do what I would want to do, I would need, I just saw Paul McCartney. That's what I would want to do, and have an immersive trip with screens and tell a story and have it be a total experience, like seeing Pink Floyd or something. But in lieu of that, I could stream it down and do a couple songs off of this. I could do some songs from other projects I've done, like Odd Man Out, Chaos is the Poetry, Heaven and Earth, maybe, because those are all albums that I was a writer on. And I don't know if anything, even though I was a writer on QR3 on every song, I don't know if anything fits with this music, with the Quiet Riot stuff. But there are songs and music that I've written that from my catalog that could work in a more of a streamed down thing. But I mean, you could hear it. I have acoustic guitars on most songs, which I wrote most of the songs on acoustic guitar. So I'm playing acoustic guitar on most of the songs besides the bass. And I do some keyboards on there and sound effects. And, because I produced the album, I had some help co-producing on a few of the tracks.
Yeah.
But
no, I like it. Yeah. It reminds me, I just had Edgar Winter on, and how
really?
he kind of, he put together this his Edgar Winter group. He put together this amazing, even though he really wasn't the front man, right? He had this other guy, Dan Hartman, singer, but he picked him out and I was thinking you could do the same kind of thing, just put together a band and make it the Chuck Wright band and make it really cool like that.
Exactly. I would need, to do it, I would want to have Joe for sure and Whitney on it. Jeff Scott Soto killed the track he did. It Never Fails. But that guy is so prolific and working so much. I mean, he's got 20 things going at the same time, he's a good friend, and I'm so proud of him. The guy's just, and he can do any style. And when this song's a funk song, and I know that I went to a Terrence Trent Carby? I can't remember. Anyway, I went to this concert, and it was an R&B guy, and Jeff was singing along to every word of every song, soulful singing, and he's a great R&B type singer, and this song needed that kind of vocal, and he just killed it.
It's amazing that he sounds so good, and he still sounds so good. Like his voice hasn't degraded over time. Like,
yeah, he's stronger than ever, really. I mean, and he's a really good songwriter, and always surrounds himself with great musicians, and always is doing a bunch of different things. I mean, the Sons of Apollo. Look at the musicians in that band. Jeez.
Yeah, no, I had Bumblefoot on the show. That guy's a crazy good guitar player.
Musician. Yeah, and he sings good too.
Yeah.
He's great. I jammed with him once in Connecticut. I think I was on tour. He came out and jammed. Really nice guy.
Yeah. So then if you're not going to tour with this project, do you have another project that you're going to be working on after this?
What I'm doing right now is I'm still doing Ultimate Jam Night. And this week I'm putting together the Brit and Rock show, which I decided to make that part 1 because there's so many amazing acts that have come out of UK. It's insane. It's like page after page, and they're all worthy and awesome. But I've also been working with Ray D'Angelo, who is a founding member of White Lion.
Yeah.
And Terry Luce, who sang with Great White for like 12 years, I think.
And XYZ, right?
Yeah, XYZ is his other band. And another friend of mine, Kevin Jones, who played keyboards with Ozzy and when Randy was in the band. He does a lot of movie stuff. He's in it. And we've been bouncing with different guitar players, but I've been jamming with those guys and doing shows with those guys out of the country. We were gone for like 5 weeks, and we're playing on the 26th in Palm Springs. We're doing a concert.
Okay.
Basically, what we do is we do songs that we're connected to, or influenced by a lot. But mainly, it's like we'll do "Radar Love" from White Line.
Yeah.
That version, or "Once Bitten, Twice Shy" by the Great White version.
What is this band called?
It's called Legends of Classic Rock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the artists, and I mean, they had the name already, but what I say is, I don't think I'm a legend. They don't think they're a legend, but we've been very blessed to be in legendary bands or work with legendary artists like Alice Cooper, or I work with like Greg Allman, for instance. So there are some legendary people that we've been associated with. So that's how the name works. Although you could also look at it like Legends of Classic Rock, that we're playing artists that are legends of classic rock, besides our involvement. So it depends on how you look at it. But It's a fun band. I'm having a great time. They're great guys. And I'm open, to other situations if it comes up.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, I mean, one of the bands that you're most well known for is Quiet Riot. It was funny. I was looking up Quiet. I was trying to find something like trivia or something. You know what was interesting? What you guys did? I think you were part of this when you were on The Simpsons. You got animated. Was that when you were in the band?
Yeah, it's actually, and they had me when I had blondish hair as a character.
Yeah.
Kevin talked me into going blonde back then, and kind of curling my hair, whatever, which I wish I didn't do. But anyway, and the premise of that Simpsons is so funny because the band's known for playing state fairs, which we did do a lot and have done a lot. But the band, they said, here's a band formerly known as Quiet Riot. They got religion now. It's Quiet Pious. Or no, Pious Riot.
Pious Riot, I think.
Pious Riot. And then the band breaks into the song, and this is what they sang like, "Come on, feel the Lord. You'll get saved, saved, saved." It sounded just like that. And the fact that they came up with that lyric was hilarious.
Was it you guys singing though, or no?
No, it was their cartoon voices doing that. It sounded like old pirates.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah. No, I didn't even know that they were doing it until it aired,
You don't get like a royalty or anything for that, or?
No. They
cool though that you're animated on.
Yeah, I've been an animated character, but they referenced it. Even had my EB3 bass. They had they've used the name before in other contexts with Quiet Riot, like thrown in with Rat or other bands. They've used it before.
Yeah, there was a bit there where they said like please welcome Poison. And they're like, no, we're not Poison. We're Quiet Riot. And then like, it's and the drummer says, the drum head said we're Whitesnake or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing about that, the underlying thing is that all these players are interchangeable. They've probably all been in one of those bands. You know what I mean? Because we're always, you know, I mean, there's certain guys that have been in like, I don't know, 6 different bands. Jizzy Pearl's a good example. He was the lead singer, Love Hate, LA Guns, Rat, now Quiet Riot. So, you know,
yeah, I mean,
one of those interchangeable guys.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. These bands just keep, like, Quiet Riot's still going. I mean, even though
they are. Yeah,
it's crazy. They got Rudy's in it now. He's the only original member.
Yeah, well, he's part of the mental health era, the beginning of it. I'm on that album too. I played Bang Your Head and Don't Want to Let You Go, and I sing on every track on it, and every track on the Condition Critical because they wanted the same sound. And I play bass on a song on Condition Critical called Born to Rock. I'm the bass player on that as well. But yeah, that's the era. I always try to explain to people that the Randy Rhoads Quiet Riot and the Mental Health Quiet Riot are 2 completely different things. In fact, the label wanted to call they had a name for the band. It was Dubrow, was how we got signed. Originally, it was the Dubrow Band, but they didn't want to name it after Kevin Dubrow. So they were throwing names at us like Standing Hampton and Wild Oscar and all these like ridiculous names. And Kevin goes, forget it. I'm just going to call it Quiet Riot again. So that's how that happened. So really, when people diss the band, the Mental Health Band, for not being original members because they're not part of the Randy Rhoads era, that band had really nothing to do with this band other than the name and the fact that it was just Kevin's voice. But musically, if you listen to that early Quiet Riot records and the new ones, it has nothing to do musically even. I mean, that band was way more poppy. It wasn't hard at all.
Yeah, because I think those albums were only released, the first 2 are only in Japan, right?
Yeah, they're only in Japan, yeah.
Which is really weird to think they were American band and they couldn't get a deal in America, but got in Japan. It is weird.
See, that's what, the whole situation is weird. I don't know if you saw the movie. One Night Here, There's No Way Back. It was on Showtime for 2 years, but that kind of tells the whole story pretty well, and it's a very entertaining film.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, you brought up the background vocals because I feel like that's a really underrated job. I mean, like the thing that or the person that stands out to me is Michael Anthony.
I was just going to say, what would Van Halen's songs be without Michael Anthony's voice? I mean, that's such a signature sound. As soon as he starts singing, that's the sound, right?
Right.
So that's why they wanted to keep me, even when they did Terrified, the Terrified album, when they had Kenny Hillary, they had me come down for that and sing. And then I rejoined them again after Kenny left the band.
Yeah, you've kind of been in and out, and
I think 5 times maybe.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, 26 years total of playing with them, but I started in '81, so Jafria, House of Lords, a bunch of other things, Alice Cooper that I've done, Ted Nugent, on and on. But yeah.
Ted Nugent, man, I had him on the show. He is really entertaining. He's out there, but he's super like energetic. Same with he reminds me, I know like politically they're different, but him and Dee Snider, they just have this energy that it's like they're born frontmen.
He's like that all the time.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, it's a natural energy. It's not like drug induced.
Yeah, he doesn't do drugs, and he's like in his 70s or something.
He's like super hyper, man. Super hyper. Yeah. I'll never forget working on that album. It's called, and I love the title, If You Can't Lick 'Em, Lick 'Em.
Right.
Which is a great title. But we would take a break and shoot hoops, and he would go out there, and he had a full-scale deer target made that he put in the bushes, and he'd go all the way to the other side and have his bow and arrow and practice shooting it. That's how he relaxes.
Yeah, he shot a bow and arrow on the podcast on Zoom. He's in his cabin.
Yes, yeah. Well,
yeah.
There you go. He had a stack of Polaroids of animals, that he goes, well, whenever I kill, I eat. So, but he's like a ram's head's holding up, and he's got like all these, and I'm just going, man, it's crazy. I imagine his wall just being covered with all these deers and bears and whatever. I don't know. I only did that album with him. That's my whole connection only to him.
Did you tour with him though, or no?
No. I did talk him into using fretless bass on a song though. He made me use a pick, and my license plate says no picks.
Oh, really? You don't like the picks?
No, man. It's all feel. fingers, this bass is meant to be played with your fingers, as far as I'm concerned. Things do come up where a pick for a certain kind of sound, but in general, bass is a feel instrument, you know.
It seems like the people. Well, they think, is it Dave Ellefson from Megadeth? Does he use a pick? I feel like some of the speed metal guys.
Actually, he just did my show. We did a show called The Big Four with Anthrax and Megadeth. We had, Dave was there and Jeff Young was there from Megadeth. They played together for the first time in 35 years or whatever it was.
Wow.
That's another thing Ultimate Jam Night does, is we put people together. I had two guys that did the Thriller tour, Greg Wright and Bumblefoot, the Michael Jackson Thriller tour, and they hadn't played together since then. I put them together, go, hey, do you guys want to play together? It's like, yeah, man, it'll be great. So yeah, no, but Dave, he was playing with a pick. I mean, some guys do. For me, it's a feel thing. I actually always at shows asked if I have guitar picks, and I said, did you watch me play? Did you see me use a pick? No, but do you have any? So finally I broke down and I have picks that say I don't use a pick.
Yeah, because they always throw them into the stage and people.
Yeah, no, I can hand them out. I mean, one of the things that I always try to do after shows, meet and greets or not, I like to go out and meet people like after the show and talk to them. And a lot of times I'll find out the first time they ever listened to a song. Oh yeah, man, my first album ever was, I heard Come On Feel the Noise or whatever. I lost my virginity in the back of my car listening to your album, whatever they say, It's kind of funny. My mom made me burn that album. So,
that is funny.
Yeah, it's interesting to find out, and especially when there's younger kids there, they're usually into it because their parents were into it, or they discovered it on a video game, like those guitar video games,
Guitar Hero and stuff like that.
Guitar Hero, it's on a lot of those. So that's how they discovered the band. It's like it can be discovered in different ways, maybe just perusing YouTube and you see the Wild and the Young video, and we're like putting guitars into a tree mulcher. So suddenly you're interested in the band.
Or maybe what's going to happen is like somebody comes out and makes a remix, like a rap song, and samples a song that you've done.
That can happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I heard the Yardbirds, that one of their songs was like redone by the Pussycat Dolls like 30 or 40 years later. And it's like, then the guy gets this royalty check. Like, it's got to be kind of a nice little thing for musicians.
Well, it must be, especially for Slade. I mean, Come On Feel the Noise is a Slade song. And so is Mama We're All Crazy Now. And those were both really big songs for Quiet Riot. So Slade was very
you
nice.
didn't play on Mama We're All Crazy though, right? You just did the back.
I sang on it.
Yeah. So you get some sort of royalty for that, right?
There's a thing called Sound Exchange, and as a background singer, it's hardly anything, but yeah, I mean.
Do you get like a big sheet like once a month that shows everything, like because you've done so many albums and things?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I'm sure there's a lot of money out there on Mode. I don't know.
Well, you don't get anything.
It's hard to track it all down.
Really? It
really is. Yeah. Thank goodness there's a thing called Sound Exchange, and they track down your extraterrestrial, they call it, which is anything that's not like a radio station, but like stuff that's like on a cable show, on cable TV, that kind of thing, or a Sirius radio, or anything like that. They track down the money for you, and it's it's a government thing, which is a great government program. The Library of Congress has that, and that's how I got my car. But it's been a good thing. That part's good, as a performer, because it's about performance. It has nothing to do with songwriting. It's about your performance on something.
Wait, so you don't get like a check every month just from all the royalties combined?
Well, you get royalties from different things.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. I thought like it showed
my publishing. It's all broken down to like whatever bands and songs and I do a lot of music library stuff for movies and that kind of thing.
So what's your number one when you get that? What's the number one thing right now that's like your best credit that's paying the most?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I'd have to go look. I don't really know. I mean, the Quiet Riot stuff and the Jafria stuff does well. Actually, there was an instrumental that I wrote for a music library. Sorry about situation. And they an Atlanta sports station that's on every night uses it going in and out of their show. And even though it's only played like a few seconds, really, like maybe 5 or 6 seconds, going in and out, you get paid like boom, 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 boom. And it's been going on for like years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it can be great. You can, I'm sure the guy that wrote the theme to, like if you write a theme for a TV show that still runs all the time,
yeah,
you're going to be getting major checks.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, very cool. And hopefully this, like I said, this new album will get you some play somewhere. Cause like I said, I think a lot of those songs lend themselves to TV and film. I could totally picture it.
Yeah. The label, they felt that way too. And they have people that's what they do, is they get songs placed. And I agree with you. I think a lot of this music on here is perfect it's a cinematic feeling record. I think when you listen to it top to bottom, it's really deep. It has a lot of layers to it. And it's not the same old. The one thing I'm proud to say, this isn't the same old, that I keep hearing, unfortunately. But I think it's kind of fresh. And I hope people feel the same way about it when they listen to it.
Yeah. It's called Sheltering Sky. It's going to be out tomorrow, so probably when people are listening, it's probably already out.
Yeah. Good. It's out.
Yeah. So go buy, they can buy it. Can they buy a physical CD or vinyl?
Yeah. It's right there.
There it is.
Album cover by Glenn Wexler, who's done Rush and 2 Van Halen covers and Black Sabbath and whole list. He's one of the best in the business, and he's my best friend. And he said, "Hey, I'd love to do your CD package for you." And that's how that happened. I'm blessed. I have all these great musicians on my record, and then this too. But you could get it if you go to chuckwright.com. There's a link where you can get it. It's going to be on all the regular platforms. CleopatraRecords.com has a link you can go to. It's there. You can get it. I advise people get the hard copy. You have lists of who's on each track, which is, like I said, there's 41 different people. You want to know who's doing what, right? So check that out.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, because I got the advanced copy, so I can see. I'm reading all the. I'm like, wow, this Scotty Hill and Derek Sherinian and Troy Lucetta. All these, I know these names. So very cool, awesome. Yeah. Well, I always end each episode with a charity, like I said. So, is there one that you want to give a shout out to here?
Yes. Once again, the World Central Kitchen, which supplies meals for the people in Ukraine that have been bombed out of their homes. And are being executed. It's a horrible situation there, and it's nice that it's great that there's somebody that has set up a whole thing to help those people eat, because they are starving.
Oh God, okay.
It's just, they have McDonald's, they have everything we do. It's like, I can't believe it. We've gone back in time 80 years. It's like Nazi Germany all over again. It's really hard to watch, and I'm glad we're helping with sending them, weapons or whatever they need to stave off them being taken over. But, it's not going great. Obviously, I don't know if you watch the news, but World Central Kitchen, you can find them and donate there if you're going to donate something, because I know that money goes straight to providing meals.
Okay, perfect. I love that. I think everyone deserves to eat. So definitely.
Yeah. It's like, it's just
everybody can get behind that. I love it. So I will put that in the notes along with your website, and people should get the new album and catch you on tour with Legends of Rock. Is that what that was called, right? Or the Legends of Classic Rock, I think, right?
Yeah, we're playing around. I'm doing that, and I'll be doing other things.
Come to Phoenix. Come to a show, and I'd go see Legends of Classic Rock. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. We do a lot of cool songs, and Terry's a brilliant singer. I don't know if you've ever seen Great White with him, but he's a great singer.
No, I haven't seen. I only saw Great White once with Jack Russell.
Yeah,
now they have a new one, Mitch Malone.
Yeah, they have another guy, but he's one of the best there is out there. So
okay, anyway. Cool. Thanks so much.
Chuck, nice meeting you.
Chuck, nice to meet you. I'll see you on tour.
All right, cheers.
All right, bye-bye. Such a fun conversation with Chuck Wright. I want to thank him again for coming on the show. And again, make sure to check out the new album. It's called Sheltering Sky. Check his website or follow him on social media for updates. You can do the same for me. And you can help us both out with likes, shares, comments on social media and YouTube. The more attention that things get on social media and YouTube and with the comments and the likes and all that stuff, the more people will see it. So let's give some positive things some attention, like this interview or Chuck's new album or some of the songs on YouTube that he's got going on. And if you've gotten any entertainment or value from this podcast, I would love for you to give me a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. I will be eternally grateful for that. And also make sure to subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day. And remember to shoot for the moon.